Welcome to this explainer. We're jumping right into the thick of it today with a massive, high-stakes diplomatic standoff rapidly unfolding between the United States and Iran. With the clock literally ticking down, we're going to cut through the noise and look at exactly what's on the table, what both sides are actually demanding, and why the entire world is watching the clock so closely right now.
Things have reached a boiling point, largely driven by a stark ultimatum from Donald Trump. The rhetoric here is severe. We're talking about a threat to rain hell on Tehran if an agreement isn't reached immediately. I mean, when a global superpower uses language like this, it's a massive indicator that standard diplomatic channels are highly strained. This isn't just a vague warning, it's a direct ultimatum tied to a very specific timeline.
And that brings us to the actual ticking clock at the center of this crisis. We are staring down an incredibly rigid deadline, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 0000 GMT, this Tuesday. This is the exact moment the ultimatum expires. It's not a suggestion. It is a hard, fast cutoff point set by the U.S. administration. Deadlines like this in international diplomacy are designed to force immediate action, right? But they also drastically raise the stakes if that time comes and goes without any resolution.
So, let's look at Section 1, the Tuesday night ultimatum.
To really understand the urgency here, we have to look at what's been happening on the ground. For 5 straight weeks now, there's been an active conflict going on. 5 weeks might not sound like a lifetime in the grand scheme of history, but in the context of global trade and military readiness, 5 weeks of active conflict creates massive economic and geopolitical strain. It's this exact pressure cooker that has forced both the US and Iran to at least try and weigh a framework plan to stop the hostilities.
Moving into Part 2, the diplomatic back and forth.
Here is the absolute core of the disagreement holding everything up, and it's a pretty stark contrast. The U.S. proposal is laser-focused on a temporary ceasefire. They just want to swiftly resume regional traffic. Iran, however, pushed back hard. They completely rejected the idea of a temporary pause, explicitly demanding the necessity of a permanent end to the war. So you've got the U.S. wanting a quick, temporary fix to get things moving, and Iran essentially saying, no way, we need a lasting, permanent resolution to this 5-week conflict.
Now, when tensions are this high, navigating this kind of impasse requires third parties. Iran didn't just pick up the phone and call Washington. Instead, they officially conveyed their formal rejection of the U.S. ceasefire proposal through Pakistan. Pakistan stepped up to serve as a crucial diplomatic intermediary here. When direct lines break down or just aren't politically viable, intermediaries become the vital bridge to make sure these incredibly high-stakes messages actually get delivered without escalating things further.
So, we know Iran rejected the temporary ceasefire. But what exactly do they want? Let's check out Section 3, Iran's 10-clause response.
According to the official IRNA news agency out of Iran, their response via Pakistan wasn't just a simple no. It was actually a comprehensive counteroffer made up of exactly 10 specific clauses. So Iran isn't just stonewalling, they've laid out a highly structured framework of their own, tying the end of the conflict to some very specific geopolitical conditions.
While we don't have every single detail, the clauses we do know about are massive. We're talking sweeping long-term requests. First, a total end to conflicts in the region, which is way broader than just this 5-week clash. Second, establishing a firm protocol for safe passage through the Straits of Hormuz. Third, the lifting of international sanctions, which, as you probably know, has been a core objective for Tehran for a long time. And fourth, dedicated reconstruction efforts. Iran is clearly attempting to leverage this standoff to secure permanent changes to their economic and security status.
All right, let's talk geography. Section 4, the Strait of Hormuz.
The Strait of Hormuz is at the absolute geographical center of all these demands. It's a vital maritime route that is completely essential for the flow of global energy supplies. This little stretch of water is exactly why the U.S. is pushing so hard and so fast for their temporary ceasefire proposal. It's a narrow body of water for sure, but its impact on the global economy is disproportionately massive.
Which naturally leads us to ask, why is this specific waterway dictating an international ultimatum? Why is a single maritime strait the catalyst for such extreme, time-sensitive threats like a rain hell ultimatum between global powers? Why aren't they fighting over land borders or airspace with this same level of immediate urgency?
Well, it all comes down to energy. The entire world relies heavily on traffic moving safely and freely right through this exact spot. Think about it, if traffic stops in the Strait of Hormuz, the global energy market goes into total shock. Oil can't get out efficiently, which means global energy prices skyrocket, economies destabilize, and everyday consumers around the world feel it almost immediately. The U.S. ultimatum is driven purely by the sheer necessity to get that traffic moving again before the economic damage becomes irreversible.
And that leaves us right on the edge of this standoff. As that 8 p.m. Tuesday deadline races toward us, we have two nations that are fundamentally divided. The U.S. is demanding a temporary fix to move oil, while Iran is demanding a permanent 10-clause resolution to end the war entirely. Neither side is blinking. So, I'll leave you with this critical thought to ponder. What exactly happens to the world's energy supply and the stability of the entire region when the clock finally strikes 8 p.m. and time just runs out?